Hello, everyone, and welcome back to House of Mystery. Today, oh my goodness, do I have a good one for you. I have apparently been living in a hole and I have missed out on Only Murders in the Building. This is an amazing show, and I just binge watched season one. The fourth season just released this past Tuesday on August 27th, and I am playing catch up because I can't get enough of this show right now. And I'm going to tell you the top 5 reasons why everybody should watch Only Murders in the Building. That is, of course, if you are a murder mystery fan. You can't miss it. So, before I tell you the top 5 reasons why you should watch this if you are a murder mystery lover, I do want to say that this is a little bit different from the cozy mysteries that I normally watch. But I am not like a bloody, gory, how many people can we kill and how much blood can we see type of person. I really like to keep it in the cozy mysteries, even though some people think they're too cheesy and too predictable. This is a step in the opposite direction, but it doesn't go overboard. It is not too much of those things that are just disturbing. I don't really like disturbing elements, if that makes sense. I just love the mystery. So this is not cheesy, and this is definitely not predictable. Now, like I said, I am only on season one, and I plan to do a video over each season, but this season definitely kept me on my toes. If you are normally a Hallmark mystery fan like I am, so this is a little bit different. It is on Hulu. It is rated MA. It is really not too risque, but it definitely isn't Hallmark, if that makes sense. If you are sensitive to language, which I don't love it, but I can overlook it. It doesn't ruin the show for me in any way, at this level, at least. But it definitely has some choice words in it. It does drop the F bomb quite a bit, but just to throw that out there because I know I've been making a lot of Hallmark videos, I just want you to know that this is a little bit different, but it definitely isn't in that, like I said, going to the extreme and being super disturbing, keeping you up at night sort of thing. It's more just keeping you on the edge of your seat. So I just want to throw that out there so you're aware. But this is just a show like any other I can really think of. Maybe there's just some out there that I haven't seen, but it isn't fitting into any like murder mystery type of show that I have ever watched before. And so it just left me wanting more because there's nothing else out there like it. And so without further ado, let's talk about the top 5 reasons that everyone at least needs to watch season one. So there's no way that we could talk about what makes the show good without talking about the 3 main cast members. Now, I had seen this show advertised for a long time, and I just remember thinking back even when it started in 2021 that Martin Short and Steve Martin, yeah, that made sense together. They've been in some movies before together, like Father the Bride, but then you throw in Selena Gomez, and I was like, that's different. Nothing against her. I just thought that that was such an odd combination. But as you watch the show, you realize that that odd combination is exactly what they were going for, and they nailed it. You could not have gotten 3 people to play these roles better. I mean, Selena Gomez, I think to play with Steve Martin and Martin Short and keep up at all would be so difficult. But she definitely holds her own in the role that she's given. Of course, she isn't quite like the comedic in it to me that they are, but now she has her moments and she delivers on those moments very well. Steve Martin plays a wonderful character named Charlie. He is an actor, well, kind of more of a former actor who's pretty much out of work at the moment, but he played a cop named Brazos in this show several years ago. And so he's still kind of living off that. Somewhat recognizable to some people, but most people really have no idea who he is. And he's just trying to find his place in the world at this time in his life. And given that he doesn't really talk to a whole lot of people or interact with or have a whole lot of different relationships with people, when he meets these two and they form this bond, it's just so important to his life at the moment. And you can really see that. And that's one reason that even when things get crazy, you can see him just kind of holding on to this. And it makes you want those relationships and this little group of podcasters that they become to stay together. Then you have Martin Short, who is just completely brilliant. I mean, there's just so many funny moments throughout this show that they deliver on. But he plays Oliver, who is kind of a washed up director from musicals and plays, and he is trying to just find that next big thing all the time. And so for him, this podcast that the three of them are going to create about a murder in their building is also very important to him. He needs it to be that next big thing. And he is just typical Martin Short, playing the role that he just plays so very well, just being him, delivering in those funny moments, but also such a good actor when it comes to the serious moments as well, and just the facial expressions that these two guys make, and just, if you've ever seen their movies, you know what I'm talking about, and they just do such a fantastic job. I believe that these characters, and it is executive produced by Steve Martin and Martin Short, and I think Selena Gomez as well. But I think it was created by Steve Martin, and I feel like he very much had like these three in mind when they were writing the show and coming up with it, because you just could not have cast them better, and they play off each other so well. I think the audience is very much rooting for these characters individually and as a team. And so to create that dynamic, especially so early on in season one, I think is truly remarkable. And maybe not something that in a murder mystery you would expect for you to just root on such a personal level, not just to solve a crime, but just to root for them as human beings. Like you want to see them reach their goal, not just solve the murder. And I think that's something really special. So while we're on the topic of characters, I think another reason that everybody needs to watch this is because of all the minor characters and guest appearances that are in this season. You have an array, you have an assortment, some names that are really big, and some people who maybe we don't know, but they also play such good characters. You have Tina Fey, who is this podcaster that actually kind of unites them. This is how the three meet. They all listen to her true crime podcast and love it, and then they figure out that each of them love it equally, and so they start bonding over it. You have Sting, who at one point in the show becomes their main suspect for the murder in their building. You have Jane Lynch, who comes in as an old colleague. Like, they just do such a good job of pulling people in, and I hear that in the continuing seasons that I haven't seen in the upcoming one on Hulu, that they just continue to do this. Like, they have so many big names who come in on this show, which I think is really interesting. And then just the minor characters of the dynamics of people that they choose to put like as neighbors in the building. You have the crazy cat guy who just adds so much comedic element to the plot. And I love that they just have so many characters that you love and so many characters that you kind of love to hate, maybe a little bit. But they just keep you guessing, because all of them could kind of be like, well, is this the suspect or is it this one? But they just come in. And again, I think anytime you have to play with Steve Martin and Martin Short, that is a huge task, to be on screen with them and still be seen and fill your role and match that. And I think that the minor characters do a really great job. The cop, who I feel like is going to be recurring in at least season 2, if not further, they all just do such a great job. The third reason I think that this is such a good season and such a good murder mystery is the setting. I think setting is so important in anything really, but in murder mysteries, I don't know. I just think it is so important, because you have to create just the right setting, or the murder, the mystery, the chase, all of those things, they don't really work. And in this we have the Arconia. Now, this is a fake name, but actually a real place in the Upper West Side of New York City. The real building is called the Belnord, and it is a beautiful, beautiful building, and just this Arconia vibe where you have all these people who have different types of apartments, but you can tell it's just a certain type of clientele, I guess you could say, who live there. There's money in the building. They all get together at these building meetings. It's just a beautiful setting, and there's so many different ways they utilize it. The elevators, the classic they're going up while I'm going down and we miss each other. And you live on one floor, I see you across the hall in the other, or I peek out the window. You have the communal lobby. You have the people that you run into constantly in people because it's such a big building that maybe you've never met before. And so there's so many things that you can do with this setting. Of course, you have the rooftop, which is going to be an important part of it as well. And then you walk out of it and you're in New York City. So for these kind of times when it's necessary for them to leave the building for one reason or another to chase down a clue or something, you have New York City at, literally at your doorstep. And so I just think that this is a fantastic setting. And the fact that the murder takes place in the building. And the reason that they call it Only Murders in the Building is because they start to hear of this other murder. And he's like, hey, we should do our podcast over that. And he says, no, 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 we have to stay focused. We can only focus on murders in the building. And then that becomes the title of their podcast. And of course, the title of the show. The fourth reason I find this show so fascinating is, of course, the plot. The plot is just so great. It is so intricately woven. I love how things happen and then it gets tied in later. It's almost like a bit of Agatha Christie, like pay attention because this is going to be important later. And I actually have a feeling that things that have happened in season one may have even been a little insignificant to that season, but may pop back up in seasons to come, which I love. And there's such a great amount of so fluently woven in comedy. Again, you can't have these characters and not have comedy, but it's serious. It's murder, but then there's comedy with it. It's just such a great plot. And it keeps you guessing, which is what a murder mystery should do. So you have the three main characters. They all live in this building, and they are, again, like I had said, they are connected over Tina Fey's podcast. One night, a fire alarm goes off in their building. Everybody's forced to evacuate. And when they go to this like neighboring restaurant, they're all trying to listen to this episode of the podcast. So they sit down at the table together and they start talking. When they realize that this fire alarm has been pulled because there's an actual murder in their building, they start to try to put the clues together and they keep coming back to each other. And they just decide, hey, we're going to do a podcast over this and see what happens. And of course, at first it's slow rolling, but then it gains some momentum. Some people like that. Some people are like, please stop doing this podcast in our building. They have this little groupie group that hangs outside their building, which I love, this kind of band of misfits who listen to their podcast religiously and love it. And then as they're trying to solve this murder, there's so many, again, like intricately woven details of things they have to figure out and players who come into play. And there's no obvious suspects, at least for a while. You kind of just start picking them off. And I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but it is. When one episode was over, I immediately wanted to watch the next episode. And I love how in the plot you get backstories. So things start to piece together and make sense. And a lot of the episodes leave you even on cliffhangers. And so they just do such a great job of pulling what could be a very complex plot together and making it make sense for those characters. And even, like I said, I think setting up some things for future seasons. And then lastly, like I mentioned, my fifth reason why everybody should watch this show is because to me, I just haven't seen a lot like it out there. I think it is successful for all the right reasons. I don't think that it pushes the envelope too far. Sometimes I think shows get awarded and recognized because they're just pushing the envelope and it's like, okay, that can be a really good thing, but it still needs to be a good show. Like it needs to be groundbreaking, but it also needs to be good. And this show is good. It is a step up. Like I said, I probably wouldn't put it in a cozy mystery category, but it is not anything that is making me lose sleep at night. And so just having something that I feel connected with, that I do think I could watch on repeat. And normally that is what I think a cozy mystery is. It's like I figured it out. I know who the killer is, but I'm going to put it on when I go to bed and I can watch it 10 or 15 times. I kind of think that this show is going to be a little bit of that. I just feel so connected to the characters, and there just isn't anything like it. It's not a crime drama where it's all very serious, and it isn't so comedic that it loses that murder mystery allure. It is just so well done, and it's new. It's in the present day, and I haven't found anything like it. Tell me if there's something out there that you think is right up the same alley as Only Murders, but I just haven't found anything yet. And so to me, it is and has been very refreshing to watch. So that's it. That's my top 5 reasons to watch the show. I am sure if I thought about it for, any bit of time, I could come up with 5 more reasons to watch the show. I'm super excited to watch season 2. I've already started a couple of episodes, but I definitely think you should check it out. Leave some feedback. Tell me what you think. If you've seen all the seasons, please tell me which one you think is the best. Tell me who your favorite character is. And I can't wait until I finish season 2 and I can come back and I can make a review for you. So that's all I have for today. Again, if you've made it to this point, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I hope that you will keep watching, and I can't wait for more. Thank you guys. Have an amazing day and stay mysterious.